You are listening to Practical and Woo by Mindset and Manifest. My name is Eden, and I invite you to embark on a journey with me to explore the practical and spiritual edges of the unknown for the purpose of allowing you to embody and empower yourself uniquely as you are and to intentionally create and live a life of freedom and fulfillment. Each week, I am going to discuss topics such as energetics, reality creation, manifestation, astrology, tarot, and more to help empower you to live beyond perceived limitations and to practically design your life so it feels like absolute magic every step of the way. Let's dive in. Well, hello, brilliant soul. Lately, I've been thinking about the way we measure our lives, and more specifically, the way we measure the moments that we experience. There's a peculiar kind of theft that happens when we take an experience that could have been cherished, place it beside another experience, and then pick them both apart in the process. Let's say you go to a restaurant or on a vacation, and instead of letting these experiences exist in their own beauty, you immediately drag them into a courtroom of comparison. Was it as good as the last time? Was it as meaningful as someone else's? Was it as impressive as what you imagined in your mind? Was it as beautiful as the picture you saw, the memory you had, the expectation you built, or the ideal you've been carrying? By the time you're finished cross examining the moment, it becomes lost in a cloud of mental fodder. What could have been a deeply special moment is one you somehow forgot to live inside. What I've come to notice is that perfection is not something we create by removing every flaw from an experience. It's something we allow when we stop forcing one experience to become the measure of another. In other words, the moment becomes truly available to us when we let it belong to itself. There's a difference between trying to make something perfect and allowing something to be perfect. Let's not disqualify moments because they don't resemble the fantasy version or the highlight reel. Let's not minimize moments simply because they were simpler than we expected. Because sometimes the experiences that stay with us the longest are not the ones that seemed the most impressive from the outside. Imagine for a moment that you have a favorite restaurant. I'm not talking about a place you casually enjoy. I'm talking about the place, the meal, a spot that somehow has become part of your inner mythology, part of your inner pathos and ethos. For me, I love brothy soups. And so my place is this amazing spot my boyfriend found and treated me to. Now I cherish getting to return to it. The type of soup they serve is called crossing the bridge soup, and it's a cultural dish that hails from northern China. When we go out for this kind of meal, it's like the bowl arrives in front of me like a small ceremony. But the time that him and I ate instant noodles on a luggage cart in a hotel room is somehow also a memory that feels like the most special treat. If I were to compare our luggage cart instant noodles with eating crossing the bridge soup, I wouldn't call upon the instant noodle luggage cart moment with the same kind of warm and expansive feeling in my heart. Soup wise, the instant noodles could never measure up to the delight of my favorite dish. But allowing both experiences to exist independently from one another allows both to be perfect. My restaurant soup remains perfect in its deliciousness, and our luggage cart instant noodles remain perfect in the emblem of what it represented and how it felt when we were experiencing it. Cherishing a small, strange, wonderful moment that was special to us. When you allow moments to exist independently from each other, you suddenly become rich in a whole new kind of way. This is the landscape that allows you to receive even more wonderful moments instead of settling for ranking them. There's perfection in wholeness, in allowing something to be perfect for being completely what it is. A rainy walk can be perfect because of the smells and the freshness. A messy dinner can be perfect because of the laughter that ensues. A strange detour can be perfect because it introduced you to something you never knew you needed. And I want to be clear here. I'm not talking about forcing beauty onto something that crossed your boundaries or hurt you in some way. And for that matter, I'm not talking about forcing something to be beautiful that rubs you the wrong way in any kind of matter. This conversation is more about living your moments to the fullest and truly experiencing them in the beauty of what they offer, whatever that might be. Thought leader Melanie Ann Layer has a beautiful quote I often remind myself of. She says that perfection doesn't exist, only beauty does. And to me, this wisdom is the entryway into how we could approach our moments and memories. In noticing how or why a moment is beautiful allows us to cherish all types of beauty. We could find the obvious beauty in things, but also the subtle beauty of things not unfolding exactly as planned, or the beauty of moments that feel ridiculous, silly, or even messy. When we allow ourselves to delight in the beauty of our moments and experiences, our memories become less about collecting experiences with accolades or blue ribbons and more about allowing our memories to collect as in a personal album of moments that are charged with meaning special to you. Memories can be made from Michelin level meals or from an experience of eating fries in a parked car overlooking an unexpected vista. Memories can be made on a luxury vacation or taken as snapshots from an afternoon where you sat on the floor connecting more deeply with someone you love. Memories can form from experiencing a perfectly styled celebration or from the 5 minutes after you come home when your shoes are off, your hair is falling out of place, and you finally feel like yourself. When we compare experiences, we flatten the album. We convince ourselves that only certain kinds of moments are worthy of being saved and recalled. And when we do this, we miss so much magic in our lives. Beauty need not be registered only when it's grand enough or polished enough to be deemed memorable, because there's true beauty all around you. And when you open yourself up to it, your life has permission to become both abundant and expansive. Comparison happens because our human minds love to organize, categorize, and measure things. It adores coming to absolute conclusions. But there's no reason your life needs to feel like a checklist or spreadsheet. If you were to connect more deeply with yourself, I would venture to guess that you would find the truth in allowing your life to be a collection of moments instead of a competition where every experience needs to outperform the last. If you truly asked yourself, you would likely come to find that there are so many more meaningful experiences than you've allowed yourself to credit. Trying to make everything perfect against everything else is a surefire way of never arriving anywhere at all. When you're planning and monitoring and judging and comparing, you aren't allowing yourself to savor, bask, and live. This is why letting an experience be perfect for what it is such a radical act of participation. Here, you're no longer standing slightly outside of your life with a clipboard. You're instead entering the room and meeting the beautiful wholeness of your life, whatever that might be, and whatever that might look like to you. And yes, you can always decide that an experience or moment wasn't for you, or that you'd want to perhaps experience something different next time. And you're also no longer using comparison as a weapon against your own life or against yourself. This conversation feels particularly topical, especially in this day and age of visible experiences. If we're being honest, we aren't only comparing our present moments to our past ones. We're also developing the habit of comparing our present moment to everyone else's curated social media lives. We're seeing other people's outings, relationships, vacations, their proposals, pregnancy announcements, business launches, body goals, friend groups, weddings, and everything in between. We have the means to compare the full texture of our lived experience against the most photogenic fraction of someone else's. And then we're surprised when our own life starts to feel more and more inadequate. And then we also do this in response, trying to curate our own social media feeds and our lives so they appear curated to everyone else who's watching. But your life isn't meant to be experienced from the perspective of an audience. When you begin to measure your experiences by how they would appear to someone else, You start outsourcing the value of your memories to imaginary witnesses. And so, to reclaim the beauty of your life and its precious moments and memories, it's imperative for you to return to your inner experience of your life, to recognize the moments you feel connected, felt present, or laughed without a care in the world. Give yourself full and complete permission to love the experiences you already have without needing to curate them and without editing. There's an intimacy to letting the ordinary matter. The places and spaces where you allow yourself to find significance in the way someone remembers how you take your coffee, or having a song come on at the exact right second, or even the strange little memory where you had instant noodles on a luggage cart with the love of your life. I personally think there's a relationship between comparison and scarcity that deserves to be named here. Because when we compare one beautiful experience to another, we often do so from the assumption that only one can win. Only one can be the best. Only one can matter most. Only one can be considered worthy. But you don't have to choose between obvious beauty and humble beauty. You do not have to choose between the extraordinary and the ordinary. You don't have to decide that because one thing was more refined, another thing was therefore less meaningful. You can become the kind of person who lets life be abundant in texture and experience. You can love the trip that changed you and the quiet afternoon that restored you. You can love the grand gesture and the tiny evidence of care. You can love the plan that worked and the detour that became the story. To let something be perfect for what it is means that we no longer need to mask its edges or conditions. The instant noodles on the luggage cart isn't perfect because we pretended it was gourmet. It's perfect because it's instant noodles on a luggage cart with someone you love. Its beauty includes the packaging, the context, the hunger, the absurdity, the intimacy, and the shared recognition that this was somehow exactly the moment we found ourselves in together. If you remove any one of those elements, you remove the very thing that makes it precious. The conditions become the architecture of the memory. The capacity to recognize beauty in your life is a form of personal power. It means your joy is not entirely dependent on perfect conditions and that your memories aren't limited. It means your life becomes wider because your attention is more generous. If you stop measuring your experiences against every other experience you have, you'll naturally begin to feel more resourced by your own life, and you'll be able to gather more evidence that you are loved, held, accompanied, surprised, restored, met, whatever else. You will stop waiting for reality to look exceptional before you allow it to feed you. And within this, your joyousness becomes overflowing. Gone are the days where approval, optics, or comparison prevailed because you can spot the beauty that is all around you. So, are you going to compare again? Probably yes, because that's a natural task force of your mind. And the invitation here is to simply notice the moments you can perhaps savor a little differently than you've ever allowed yourself to savor. This is the roadmap to allowing your life to feel like a masterful collection of precious, priceless moments. So, the invitation for you is to allow the moments and experiences of your life to be whole in their perfection. Your life isn't asking for every experience to become the greatest one you've ever had. It's asking whether you're willing to be present enough to recognize the beauty that's uniquely present within every moment. Because when you let your experiences belong to themselves, you stop turning your life against itself and you stop making one joy the enemy of another. This is where so much of your power returns when you allow your perception and presence to adore the beauty that has already found its way to you. Until next time.